I think
Um,
it's important that creatives use the tools that are there for you to help you. And one of the most simplest tools is your calendar. Put stuff on your
yes.
calendar and set reminders. So if you said, okay, I have till June to do this, then May 15th, there should be a reminder in your calendar letting you know, hey, you have this goal coming up, you have this deadline coming up.
Welcome to the Vana room. This week's episode is going to be discussing the SMART goals. So SMART, we're going to break that down because it aligns very closely with the SWOT analysis, which we discussed in a previous episode. Unfortunately, Rod can't be with us because he is having a baby. So
Yeah,
at this moment, so he's a little bit tied up right now. So it's just going to be Monique and I this week
we're
taking
waiting
this
on
episode.
Jamvana Jovi to make an appearance.
Yes, we are. We are waiting on Jamvana Jovi. So we're really excited for Rob, and hopefully that everything goes as smoothly as possible. And I'm excited to meet Jamvana Jovi. Um,
Yeah.
so this week we're going to be discussing SMART goals, what they are, who does them, when they should be done, and kind of all that stuff from a musician's standpoint.
Hmm.
So Mo, if you want to kick us off and kind of explain what SMART goals are and kind of give us a brief overview.
Okay, so I guess I'll start with let's just say that SMART is an acronym, and it stands for specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time bound. So what this is basically, especially for those of you looking to release new albums, new singles, like this is a great practice to work into your marketing schedule. So when you know that you have a song coming out, you need to make some moves so people know that song is coming out, so people download that song, so people buy that song, or if you have a video coming out, a SMART goal is a good way to measure your or not just measure, but achieve the goal that you set out for whatever your project is. So, by specific, what we mean by specific is you don't want to say I want more visitors to my webpage, or I want more downloads for this track. That's not specific enough. You need to say something like I need or I want 5,000 more downloads a week. Something, because that's where measurable comes into play. So each of
Mm,
these steps kind of work together. So, first, what is the specific goal? All right, you've got a track coming out. The whole point is to market that track so people know that that track is coming out. And obviously, you want downloads, right? You want traction for that track, or whoops, that track or that video, whatever it is that you're releasing. So, you need to be very specific, as detailed as possible when it comes to what that goal is, right? And then next is the M, which is measurable. Measurable means it's something that can actually be calculated. So when you say things like I want 50,000 or I want 5,000 more followers, 5,000 more followers is measurable because you can see that. You can see if
mhm,
you've actually reached 5,000 more people. Or I want 20% more traffic on my website. Okay, that's something that is measurable. I can see if there's 20% more traffic on the website or not, right? So that's what measurable is. So basically, this is a way of gauging whether or not you're actually reaching your goal, right?
mm.
So that's what the SMART analysis or the SMART goal is about. And then the A stands for attainable. And I find a lot of artists that I've worked with and my students This is something that I kind of have to like beat people over the head with, because I get it. We all want to be very successful, but these are things that take time. And as cliche as it may sound, we always say, you know, you got to crawl before you can walk. It's
Mm,
the same thing when it comes to these different goals. You know, I had a funny conversation yesterday with a friend of mine. She said this kid came up to her and said, um, I need to be on a plaque by the end of the year. And she was like, what are you talking about? A plaque? Meaning he wanted to have his name needed to be on a billboard charting song, a plaque for a charting song by the end of the year. And I'm going, you don't even know how to release music. What makes you think you're and I'm not trying to be negative Nancy. Sure, it's possible in a perfect world, but we don't live in a perfect world. Do you know what I mean?
mhm.
That's
Yeah,
not an attainable goal. When you
yeah.
are just learning about the music industry, to say you want your name on a plaque for a charting song, that's not realistic. That's not an attainable goal. So small attainable goals, right? Maybe something like, I want to have 3 songs written, and I'm not a songwriter, so I don't know how long it takes people to write songs. Some people it takes an hour, some people it takes a month. So
Mhm,
whatever's, you know, realistic for you, then make it attainable. Okay, I can write 3 songs in 2 months. Cool. All right, finish writing 3 songs in 2 months, if that's something that you can do. And then I kind of started working the R in there, which is realistic. Um, you know, when we talk about attainable and realistic, understand that you're going to have some challenges along the way. Life gets in the way sometimes. You can, uh, you know, I'm sorry, not realistic, relevant. Sorry, I said realistic. Relevant. That's what the R is.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, yep,
so I don't know where I think because I was talking about attainable and I just got
yep.
realistic in there. Relevant is what the R is for, but still, it's still associated with attainable, because you have to make sure that whatever goal that you're setting, um, in order for it to be something attainable, it needs to be relevant to what it is that the goal actually is, right? So if it's something like, I want to join a industry organization, or I want to get into this competition for songwriting, okay, that's relevant to what the goal is, which is getting more songs written. And then time bound, which is give yourself a deadline. So just like I said, I want to write 3 songs in 2 months. Okay, 2 months is the time period. Make sure you give yourself a deadline. That is something a lot of creative people are not good at. They leave these open ended schedules, these open ended goals, and then it just never happens. Like that
Mm,
goalpost just keeps moving. And if you do
mhm,
that, you're never going to be able to achieve your goal. You've got to set a deadline and you got to hold yourself accountable. I honestly think um, the A should be accountable and the R should be realistic, in my opinion. I really think
mm,
that should be a alternative version to what the A and the R stand for in SMART goals, because you have to hold yourself accountable,
absolutely,
you know?
absolutely. Yeah, those are really, really, really good, points, and I think, like you mentioned, creatives struggle with setting these
Hmm.
examples, and I have set a goal for myself is like having 10 songs by the end of June so I can
Hmm.
have and start pitching to music libraries and music supervisors. 10 songs. And I'm very close. I've got, I think, 2 or 3 more that I need to finish.
Cool.
But I've got a month and a half to do that. After I do my traveling, I've got about 2 weeks to do it. But
Right.
I feel like I can do this. This is the time that I've set for myself. And, I may have slacked off throughout a month or two because it's been crazy with family coming in and out. But that's a goal that I set for myself, and I have to meet that deadline. And by keeping pushing that, I'm not going to be able to achieve that because I'm just, oh, I'll do it next week. I'll do it next month. I'll do it in 3 months. And then this never happens.
I think
Um,
it's important that creatives use the tools that are there for you to help you. And one of the most simplest tools is your calendar. Put stuff on your
yes.
calendar and set reminders. So if you said, okay, I have till June to do this, then May 15th, there should be a reminder in your calendar letting you know, hey, you have this goal coming up, you have this deadline coming up. Or, schedule something else in the calendar that says, that pops up as a question. Hey, Lennon, have you been working on your song? You
Yep.
know, we have so many free tools available to us right here on our phones and our emails. And a lot of people are not. And you know why? Because a lot of creative people are not organized. That's where people like me come in. That's why my consulting business thrives, is in the organization part, because there's so many people who just need me to keep them organized and keep them on track. It's like being a glorified um, personal assistant, you know?
Hmm.
And all I can do is remind you. It's your job to actually get it done. So you can't be mad at me if you don't do it. And after a while, I'm not going to ride people like, like a nagging parent, but it is what it is. But use your calendar, set reminders in your calendar. There's also tools out there like Monday, where you can do task management if you have a team working with you. What's the other one? Trello, I think it's called.
Yep. I
um,
use Asana.
Okay, I've never used that one, but okay. So
I like
there's
that one.
tools out there that you can utilize, and I think it's really important that you acknowledge whether or not you're organized enough to do this on your own, and if you're not, then that's when you need to start looking at, hiring, um, a third party to step in and help you. Um, lay out these goals and what needs to be done. But again, at the end of the day, you have to hold yourself accountable to actually get it done.
Yeah, and I'm also going to plug a blog post that we published. It should be live by the time we release this episode, but there's 21 tools, 21 must-have tools that musicians can use.
Mm,
So I'll link that in the show notes below. It goes from like Box.com to Gig
yes.
Salad to find gigs. There's Disco to keep your stuff organized, to pitch to music supervisors.
Hmm.
There's all kinds of different tools that musicians can use in there. So, and if you have a tool that you use and you have found very helpful, let us know. I love learning about these different tools and how they function and how you use them. So if you have a tool that you use, drop that in the comments below, whether it's on a blog post or in the YouTube comments. But yeah, there's so many tools out there and so many free tools that come with your computer and your phone
Hmm.
that you can use. And
Hmm.
it's up to you to maximize that. It's just like if the doctor tells you you need to do A, B, and C, it's up to you to do A, B, and C.
Hmm.
It's totally on you. It's Mo
Hmm.
is
They've
not a
done their
parent.
part. They've done
Yep,
their part. They've told you what you need to do. They told you how to do it. They told you where to get, the medication, or join the gym. Okay, you have to start working out. Okay, nobody likes to work. I mean, there are some crazy people out there that like to work out, but if you know that's something that you got to do, you just got to suck it up and do it, and you got to figure out a
absolutely.
way to,
Yep.
especially if you got to look at the end goal. I think, I just had this conversation yesterday about manifesting your goals. I think in the process of manifesting goals, what people forget is that you actually actively have to be working toward that goal.
Hmm.
Manifesting does not mean sitting in a room praying to the high heavens that something happen. Um, that's not how you manifest. You put the energy out there, you put the task out there, and then you make sure you're making moves to open those doors for those opportunities to happen. And that includes getting yourself organized and breaking habits. A lot of people are like, oh, I've been doing this music thing for 3 years. That's it. Like,
Yeah.
3 years is not a long time, my man.
Not in music
So
terms.
yeah, and in that 3 years, what have you actually done? It's like, oh, I've been putting music out. Okay, are you marketing yourself? Do you know who your target audience is? Like, all the stuff that we've talked about and will talk about in our various podcasts is like, that is what it takes. It's more than just releasing music. And identifying your SMART goal for your releases is crucial to this. So,
Hmm.
um, so I don't know if I mentioned this or not, but campaigning or campaigns for releases is very important. So if you're using Jamvana to distribute, okay, when is the song supposed to come out? All right, so if that's when the song is coming out, what are you doing leading up to that? And that's where you can start working in your SMART goal and creating your SMART goal kind of task list for what needs to happen before that song comes out, because that's going to make the difference between the song being successful or not,
Yep,
you know.
absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Um, and so I want to go back to what you mentioned. I think this is a good example is the your friend had mentioned, I want to be on a plaque. And you said that's not really attainable. Well, how do we get it to a point so it is attainable?
I
What would
don't
be the steps that you would take?
I don't want to say it's not attainable. I think what was concerning is the time frame that
Ah,
this young man uh thought something like that's attainable. I'm not saying there isn't a stroke of luck that could happen between now and the end of the year where, holy crap. But honestly, for that to happen, you still have to be putting yourself in the right circles. You know what I mean? Like we're talking
mm,
about between May and December, you being in some sort of songwriter circle with a songwriter or a producer or an engineer who's already working with a chart topping artist, um, signed to a major, because that's how it's going to happen in that particular situation. I'm not saying independents can't do it. Independents can do it. Jelly Roll has done it. He's independent, but there's just a lot that would have to transpire between now and the end of the year for that to happen. First of all, that's not a lot of time, because in order to get on the plaque by the end of the year, it means the song is about to come out. You know what I'm
mm,
saying? Like
mm-hmm,
we're talking fourth quarter Billboard charting songs, which means it's got to come out in the next month in
mm-hmm,
order for that to be. So this is what I'm talking about when we talk about, is it attainable? It's attainable, just not in the time period that you're giving yourself to. And that's where a lot of people end up failing, is because they create these ridiculous goals in a short period of time, and then you put pressure on yourself. Now you're having a hard time trying to get to the goal because you're stressed out. You know what I'm
mm,
saying? And
yeah.
that's where I have to like do that reality check with people. It's like, I'm all for you being successful, making millions of dollars, but I'm also trying to be realistic about it. And you set yourself up for disappointment when you give yourself this short window to make something happen, and you're not even making the right moves within that window of time. And there's still no guarantee that it's going to happen in that window of time, you
Mm-hmm,
know. So for the gentleman that said, I want my name on a plaque by the end of the year, he needs to look at a calendar and go, what am I doing between now and the end of the year to make that happen? Am
mm-hmm,
I networking with producers? Am I in communication with an artist that's about to release a track? Am I working on a TV show that has a song attached to it that I'm working on? Like, if you're not even working on songs, how can you even fix your lips to say that, as my mother would say?
yeah. Do you have songs that you've already written, or is this something
Right,
you're kind of dreaming? Like some people say
right,
these things and they don't have anything.
right,
And it's like it's in 6 months you want to go from having nothing to chart topping Billboard artist.
right.
Again, not saying it can't happen, but the steps that it takes to get there is a lot of work, and it's almost unrealistic. To I mean, you would have to dedicate yourself for the next month with no sleep to.
I blame the magic of the internet for
Yes,
people's unrealistic expectations, because it looks like it
yes,
happened overnight, but it did not. That was a plan. There was a plan there. And again, I'm fully aware that there are people who just throw stuff at the wall to see what sticks, and sometimes it sticks. But
yeah,
more often than not, you gotta you need to plan stuff out. You need to go, okay, this is when it's going to come out. We need to make it look like this. We need to get
hmm
this in the works, you know.
yeah,
And you gotta rely on your loyal, authentic, organic fan base to help you make that happen.
Yeah. So let's, how is a SMART goal set? Like, is it something you write down on paper? Is this like, do I write down, I want to be a chart topping artist next by the end of next year? Okay. And is that the goal? And then for SMART, do I go through and make sure it checks all the boxes? Or is this kind of like a SWOT analysis where I go S and then I write three things, M, I write three things? Or how is this, how would I conduct a SMART
I mean,
goal?
you could do it just like you do the SWOT analysis, but to answer your initial question about is this something you write down, 100% yes, because it is difficult to achieve a goal if you're not seeing that goal every day. So
Mm,
yeah, it needs to be written somewhere where you can look at it and you can go, okay, here's the goal, or here's the release. All right. Monique um Monique single 555 is coming out on uh December 5th or whatever, right? Okay, now let me create my SMART goal around that. Okay, let's be specific. What do I want? What is my goal for that release? What is my goal for
mm,
that track? Okay, what is my specific goal for that track? What is my measurable goal for that track? What is my attainable goal for that track? What is my relevant, what am I doing that's relevant to attaining that goal? And then what's the time period? Okay, so the time period we already identified is December, whatever. You know what
okay.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
So 100%, you should be looking at that every day. So when you leave your house or walk out of your office or walk out of your studio, you go, all right, this is what I got to do today. This is part of the goal.
Mm,
So just like the SWOT analysis, except instead of this being 4 boxes, it's going to be what 5 boxes across with space in it. And then
hmm
you are putting exactly what needs to be done inside of those to make sure you're hitting those.
mm,
And you need to see that every day, every day.
okay. Yeah, that's a good, that clarifies because I'm like, how do I set this up? Where do I even start with this? So
Goals
that's
should be
helpful.
visible all the time because you need to make sure that all your moves throughout the day are getting you closer to that goal.
Hmm
So I have my general rule is I have my goals up here on the wall, and um I ask myself every day, what did I do today to get closer to that goal? So if I have a goal of losing weight, okay, what did I eat today? How much exercise did I do today? What activity did I change? What bad habit did I break? You know what I mean? Did I stop drinking soda? Did I cut out sweets today? Every day needs to put me closer to what my goal is.
mm,
And that's why when you ask that question, I'm like 100% yes, it should be written and it needs to be somewhere where you can see it.
hmm Yeah, I think that's, I asked that question because I think it's so important to be reiterated,
Sure.
and like they need to be written down. You can't just dream these things up in your head because you're going to forget them and you're not
Mhm.
seeing them every day. And then
Mhm.
you're like, oh, in 3 months, what was that goal that I had? It was like six
Mhm.
months or something, and you don't remember. But if you have it written down, you're not forgetting it. And then you can cross things off when you get those goals. You
Yep.
can move on, and then you can make the next bigger goal. What's my
Yep.
next step from here?
Mhm.
Um, so you've got to be able to see those goals.
I mean, we
Um,
crowd our brains with so much information in the course of a
yes.
day
Yeah.
that you have to write it down. That's why we make lists when we go to the grocery store.
Yep.
you know,
Yeah.
like because between the time you parked the car and got to the door of the grocery store, you already forgot half of your list if you didn't write it down.
I
You
do
need
that
to
all the time.
I do it too. Well, I don't do it too because I literally have multiple lists. I write one on a piece of paper and I have one in my notes in my phone. So I'm a little bit particular like that because
Yeah.
I like to get in and get out. I don't like to get caught. And honestly, that is a really good analogy for the reason you do SMART goals is because it's real easy to get distracted. It's
Yeah.
real easy to get off track when you don't have your set goals in front of you,
hmm
like whether it be written down on a piece of paper or in a graph on your phone, whatever. You got to look at it so you stay the course, stay on
Hmm.
track. You know what I mean? So it is so easy to get distracted. We've got a million things going on in our brains, you know?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
before cell phones, I hate to sound like the old lady in the room, but I cannot believe how many numbers I used to recall before cell phones came out. I mean, I knew my parents' house number, I knew my grandmother's number, we knew people's addresses, like no problem. Bang, bang, bang. As soon as we started putting them in the phone, it was like, oh, I got to look
I
at
don't.
it to remember what it is, you
Yeah.
know? So,
Yeah.
yeah, we crowd so much stuff in our brain. You need a list at this
Yeah.
point.
You do. And for me, I always make a grocery list and then I put it on the counter to leave. And then it's with my wallet and my phone. So I grab my wallet and my phone, but somehow I missed the list. So then I get to the store and I'm like, shit, I forgot the list. Uh, and I'm sitting here guessing. And I come home and I'm like, how many things did Lennon remember?
Right.
And
And
I
then you
usually
look at the
forget.
list and you look at what you actually picked up and you're like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
cookies
I
was
got
not on the list.
cookies was not on the list, not at all. But I deserve them because I forgot.
Yeah, see, there we go. Then we make excuses.
Yeah, exactly.
See,
So let's kind of wrap this up with, I know we've kind of touched on it, but who should conduct SMART goals? Should everybody do them? Are these for special people, specific people? Who should do SMART goals?
I mean, if we're talking about the music industry,
Yes.
then it should be a team effort, to be honest,
Mm,
because depending on what the goal is, it may take more than one. It's not just one person's job to reach that goal if you have a team. If it's you by yourself, then it's your responsibility.
mm,
So I would say the manager, the agent, just depends on what the goal is. So the task of managing the SMART goal depends on what the goal is and is there a team involved, you know?
mm,
Because if the goal is, okay, I need to record, I've written 5 songs, I need to get these 5 songs recorded. Okay, well, part of that is going to rely on the engineer that you're working with. Another
mhm,
aspect of that is, do you have the money for the studio time? Or, you know what I mean? Like, okay, I'm going to have to work a few extra hours to make sure I have money for the studio time to go and record. If it's
mm,
about going on tour, right? If it's about setting up a tour, then if you have a tour manager, then okay, we want so time specific. We want by spring 2023 we want to be on 3 festivals and have a local city tour or something to that effect, interstate tour to various cities. Okay, so now we have our time bound. It's a bit specific, so we've identified that. Okay, now is this something measurable? Okay, how do we measure this? Well, we measure it by actually getting the bookings, which is going to be your agent's responsibility. But if it's just you, then it's your responsibility, right? Is this attainable? Okay, it can be. What do we need? Because that may be part of the process of the attainability. Do we have a one sheet done? Do we have the website updated? Have we reached out to people? So it's like creating your task along
mm.
with making sure you're able to do that. So long answer to your question is it just depends um, on what the goal is and if there's a team uh, involved. If not, it's your responsibility.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good answer. Again,
Thank you.
just the importance of who. Yeah, no, I like these kind of longer answers because it helps put things into perspective with the
Hmm.
examples, and it's like, oh yeah, you say this, and then you give an example, and it's like, oh yeah, you're right, that's how that would work. Okay, and then you can take notes, and I want to do something similar. Here's what I need to do. It puts things into perspective,
And
which is another.
I'm a huge proponent of the artist being involved too. I
Yeah,
don't have a hands-off mentality. I know there's people out there that have a hands-off mentality, but I have an expectation of hands-on because
yeah,
I'm an educator. So for me, part of my relationship with the artists that I'm working with is I want to educate you. There's
Hmm.
too many artists that have been taken advantage of in this industry.
Hmm.
And part of it is their fault, and the other part is just shady people. But if you call the if you can pay attention and recognize the shady behavior, you can call the shady people out. You can um, part ways with them so you're not dealing with them anymore. But you can't be willfully ignorant. You can't be an ignorant participant. I don't like that. That's not. And there are some creative people who are like, I just want to hire an attorney. I just want to hire an accountant. That's cool. Those are also some of the people that steal from you because they know more than you, because you're not even
Hmm.
paying attention. You're so
Yep.
hands off. And that includes stuff like setting the goals. Because if you leave the goals in the hands of someone else, they're going to set the goals that work for them, not work for you.
Mm.
You
Mm.
see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then you're going to end up working like a horse. You know, sometimes like you hear about some of these artists out here who are just, they're exhausted, and um it's because they don't have the right people looking out for them. You
Hmm.
know, like part of your goal needs to be taking care of yourself. And if these people are just worried about, man, I'm almost at $1 million, I need to keep working this dude until I get my money by the end of the year, they're not worried
Yeah.
about you. And they're not thinking about your goals, they're thinking about their goals.
Yep. Yeah. Very good. Very good point. Always, which is why we have this podcast, is so you can be educated on the basic
Hmm.
understanding of copyrights, the basics of organization, the basics of the tools that people are using, so that you can educate yourself and familiarize yourself with these tools and with these resources, which is so important. So then you don't get taken advantage of, because we've seen it. The music industry is plagued with
Over
that,
and
and has been
over.
plagued with that,
Hmm.
with major labels taking advantage of artists because they don't know what they're doing, and they just keep them totally out of the dark, and they flood them with more information than they need, and it gets overwhelming. So
Hmm.
that's why we're here. So I think that pretty much wraps up SMART goals. Was there anything else that you wanted to add, Mo?
I don't think so. I think we've touched on it. Again, like I just want to encourage our viewers, please drop us questions in the
Yes.
chat, or hit us up on our email, which I'm sure Lennon will include that in the episode notes. But let us know what you guys want to know about. Do you have any questions about things that we've already talked about? And we will certainly record an episode and do follow ups just for you, because we want to be really hands on. We really want to help, and I do want to give a major kudo to Lennon and his outstanding journalism skills and writing. So you guys got to
Thank you.
check out the Jamvana blog. Please go. Lennon just has some fantastic articles there, and I feel like not enough people are reading them. I just think they're really well done. So Lennon, kudos to you, but not just because we're working with Jamvana, but they really are great articles. So in addition to the podcast, guys, go check out the blog posts. Seriously.
Yep. Hmm. And I'll link the one below, because I mentioned the 21 tools in this episode. So
Yeah.
I'll make sure that one is linked below, because those are always
Cool.
helpful. And we'll keep that list updated. So check back, bookmark it, and come back to it, and all that stuff. So we'll try to keep adding and stuff like that, and updating information as we get information on those
Sounds
tools.
good.
But yeah, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe, all the stuff. Leave a 5-star rating and review in Apple Podcasts and Spotify. That helps the show get discovered by new listeners. And yeah, check out the website. And yeah, we'll see you next week on the Vana Room.
See ya.
Bye.